I'm here. Good morning.
Okay, that is Chief. That's Chief Obono Obla.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on, Chief. And also once more to you, Oyendima Chibuzo. Good morning to you, sir. Now, let's look at this subject. It seemed like a very good idea at the time. In fact, there was legislation to back it up. I think there was some law about whistleblowing, but fortunately we have a human rights lawyer and public affairs analyst in Chief Okoye Obono Obla. First of all, the whole media, the whole whistle blowing concept, it is established by law, isn't it?
Well, as of now, there is no law concerning whistleblowing in Nigeria.
Okay.
There was an attempt during the last regime, the regime of President Muhammadu Buhari. I think a bill to that effect was laid before the National Assembly. But the National Assembly, for the reasons best known to it, watered down that legislation and then not even passed it. They passed a legislation that was quite different from the whistleblowing legislation. So as we are talking today, there is no law on whistleblowing in Nigeria.
I see.
That is why a lot of us have been saying this is one of the hiccups you find in the war against corruption, So because the whistleblowing will help, people to come out, out of their cocoons, so to make, reports concerning, infringement of our financial laws, our economic laws, our anti-corruption laws, and so it is not, the law is not there.
Okay.
So what we have is a Weakness Protection Act that was enacted by the National Assembly. That one is different from whistleblowing because weakness is when already a matter is in court and then you are asked to come and give evidence. It's different from you exposing the commission of a crime, So because whistleblowing is just about exposure of the commission of a crime. And this is what we see. Sometimes people who are whistleblowers, they become accused, like this case of Jason Michael we are talking about.
Yes.
Yes, he was a whistleblower, and then he has now been, turned into an accused, rather. So because of the fact that there is no law on whistleblowing, there is no law to protect people who whistleblow.
Okay. Are you familiar with that particular instance that was just mentioned? Talking to you now, that's Mr. Chibuzo, Mr. Chibuzo Oyendima. Are you familiar with the details of that he just mentioned?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm very familiar with it.
Okay. So, that's a dastardly thing. If a person who wants to act as a whistleblower then becomes an accused. Tell us as much as you can about the situation.
Well, the situation is such that an incident happened in Africa Arbitrage Systems Limited, where the CEO of the company, due to health challenges, sudden health challenges, had to relinquish control of his firm to a trusted employee, and then he went for medical attention. While in medical attention, information filtered to him that things were happening at his firm. Luckily for him, he survived that medical condition he had, and he came back only to discover that a lot had happened in his firm. A balance of about $87 million that was sitting in the firm as at the time he left, by the time he came back, had been siphoned. And then he ran straight to EFCC to go and report the incident. And suspects were named in the process, and the EFCC immediately swung into action. The first place, the main principal suspect's account contained about 400 million in PND, and the process continued, but it was rather slow. So he also ran to Interpol immediately, and Interpol continued from there, and they made some arrests and continued. Eventually, the case turned around and the police got the CEO who reported the matter, got him arrested, incarcerated him for about 30 days before they transferred him to EFCC, who also incarcerated him for about 60 days before, following his petition to the courts for his fundamental human rights. EFCC eventually filed a charge, and we are in court today. So the CEO who reported the case is now being hounded instead of the person who has been accused for the theft and who has confessed to the theft.
Okay. Now, let me come back to you, if I can, Chief Oboyobona Obla. These kind of things, you probably are going to be familiar with, the things of this nature in your profession. How did we get to this stage where a person seeking to assist the law, people keep on saying in our parlance that police is your friend. If you do the right thing now, it could turn out to be a dangerous thing. I know that one charge won't fit all cases, but how is it that we get to this stage, in your experience as a lawyer who probably has this kind of a thing is not strange to? How do we get to that stage where a person who did the right thing, you turn around and you now want to persecute him?
Well, I personally, it's an example. I was the chairman of the Special Presidential Investigation Panel for the Recovery of Public Property. And I dabbled into areas that all anti-corruption agencies in Nigeria have never dabbled into. For instance, I wanted to know why $7 billion that was given as a bailout by Obasanjo's government to commercial banks in the country was not returned, was dashed. They said they dashed the money. So I went into areas like that, and then I stepped into very powerful tools, even within the government that appointed me, and I was, I was scandalized, I was disgraced, I was persecuted, I was prosecuted, So that is typically an example of how a whistleblower or even an anti-corruption fighter can be turned into an accused. And we have seen a lot of instances in Nigeria. Ribadu
succeed. But that's worth nothing if your life is then in danger as a result of moving forward to take up that particular challenge, isn't it? So this is a challenge that we have. Now I understand the core that you should strengthen the legal institutions. Is this easily or readily done, or do you foresee, Mr. Onyedima, do you foresee any challenge therein?
Well, I think what we need to move forward is the will to institutionalize some of these things.
Okay, so it goes back to the authorities.
Yes. When we're able to institutionalize it and live by it, that's when it will make meaning. If we say it and pay lip service to it, it will not take us to where we want to get to, and the problem will continue.
Yes, especially the instance that you have just explained, with not knowing exactly what all the details are, but you are familiar with it, and you've given us a synopsis of this situation. That's hardly a pass mark for our fight against corruption. If, people like that, you simply just turn around. I don't know, it even concerns the police, because if the police, I'm suggesting that, they say the police is your friend. And if the police maintains, its confidentiality, because they always tell you that in situations like this, the identity of whoever helps the authorities is going to be sacrosanct. It's not going to be revealed. But this is beyond revelation. So this is why I'm a bit, quite frankly, I'm befuddled. Do we want to fight corruption or not? And that, I think, is what we're talking about.
Yes, I think that question goes to the core of the matter. Do we want to fight corruption or not? Do we have the institutions, are our institutions strong enough to do what is needful? Because if you take this present instance of Africa Arbitrage, when the police arrested Jason Michael and then incarcerated him beyond what is legally allowed, he had to go to court to fight for his fundamental human rights, which is the right thing he should do. He approached the court, and processes were filed and served, and the court gave a considered ruling that he should be granted bail. But the police authorities refused to honor that court order. And this is the crux of the matter. If rulings of the court are not obeyed, it becomes a case of jungle justice. Who has higher connections, who has higher power, who has higher strength. And that is not where we want to get to as a nation. So when the court gave judgment that he should be released on bail, the police did not honor that court judgment. And he had to go back to court and say, look, you granted me this bail, you gave me this, and the police authorities are refusing. The next thing they did, the next alternative was to file a contempt case against the police, because the court judgment has specifically said what should be done. And the police was not willing to do it. So he had to file a contempt case against the police. And instead of doing the right thing, what the police did was, in order to try and avoid the contempt case, they had to ship him from police custody to EFCC custody, so that it will imply that he is no more in the custody of the police. But that has not solved the issue, because the judgment of the court was clear. Release
Indeed.
him. But they didn't release him, and they shipped him to EFCC, and they continued. So if our laws are not being applied, and people are not being held accountable for them, then it goes to the root of what the issues are.
Yes. Okay. Chief Okoye Obonobla, what would be your commentary on the issue of strengthening legal and institutional protections for whistleblowers? What would be your commentary on it, given the examples that we are able to cite here? I mean, if you don't have the police as your friend, I don't even need to know anything about crime fighting. If you don't have the police as your friend in such an endeavor, you're pretty much on your own, which can be very, very, very dangerous territory to be in.
Very good question. I was involved in the anti-corruption agenda of APC government. As I said, I was chairman of a panel.
Yes.
And before I was appointed, they told me, oh, this is a large dish, effort against corruption in Nigeria. But when I started my work, it turned out to be different, different thing entirely. Those who appointed me were not even interested in what we were doing, despite, the effort, the courageous effort to, make sure that we reduce corruption to a minimum in Nigeria. So all this boils down to institutional and legal framework. We have to rejig all our laws, the law establishing the police force, because the police is an anti-corruption agency. The Nigeria Custom is an anti-corruption agency. Nigeria Immigration Service is an anti-corruption agency. SSS, Code of Conduct Bureau, ICPC, EFCC. So they are all anti-corruption agencies. Are they working in unison, or are they working at cross purpose, or do we have cases of inter-agency rivalry? So if you have new laws, the new law will streamline all the other anti-corruption agencies we have to ensure that there is no inter-agency rivalry. There is a synergy between all of them. There is also the need for them to protect whistleblowers. How can you, somebody who is so patriotic to have exposed something that is going wrong in the country or in the state or anywhere, and then you turn around to begin to persecute, to prosecute, to victimize that person, to wish on that person, just like what happened to me. So who want to be, a whistleblower? Who want to be an anti-corruption fighter? So we need to streamline all these laws and then reject these laws, because if we don't address this issue, we cannot have a country where there are no bandits. Banditry boils down to money laundering. At the end of the day, if all these people who indulge in banditry, terrorism, if they do not have access to money, they will not continue with their crime, but they have access to money. So if we want to stop the banditry, terrorism, and other big profile crimes, then we have to ensure that we cut off these people, all these syndicates, all these perpetrators of money laundering, in banditry, in terrorism. We have to cut them off from their source of having money. So it all boils down to whistleblowing. If you have whistleblowers law, people in Borno State will expose the terrorists. They will expose the bandits in Katsina State, in Zamfara State, Niger State, and so forth and so on. Because now, if you go and report to the anti-corruption agencies or anti-terrorism agencies or the agencies involved in banditry, and if you go and report to them that somebody is a bandit or somebody is a terrorist, and you are not protected, and then you expose yourself, they will come after you to take vengeance. They can kill you. They can do whatever they want to do to you. So nobody will want to expose himself to that kind of danger. But if there is a law saying government should give so and so protection to whistleblowers, then people will know that, whistleblowers will know that they are protected, and they will have the courage to come out and expose whatever is going wrong.
And I think this is a very, very serious matter. Coming to you now, Mr. Oyedima, this is a very, very serious matter, because the president has said that Nigeria is ready for business. And, this part of what, Chief Obono Obla was just talking about, these are the kind of things that, people who would engage with us will be looking at. How workable is that country? What is their attitude to law and order? And Mr. President, this administration is in the middle of reforms. He has said categorically that Nigeria is open for business. But if there are still aspects of corruption as bold and as marked as we are discussing now, perhaps it isn't well known to the authority, because this is in no way contributing to the effort, the reformist agenda of President Tinubu and his administration. So how are we ready if criminality will not be addressed?
Well, part of the essence of today's program is to throw more light on issues like this. If we are talking about encouraging investment, and those who are already invested are facing issues like this, in business, definitely problems must arise. Is sacrosanct. Problems must arise. How it is resolved is what makes a difference between a progressive nation and one that is stagnant or retrogressing. When issues like this arise and you do the needful so that the right anti-corruption agencies can pick up from there and ensure that justice is done. When issues like this arise and you do what you're supposed to do, and those anti-corruption agencies don't do what they're supposed to do, for whatever reasons, it will not encourage the investors we are talking about. Even the local investors will also be discouraged from even investing in the local economy. And that is why we are saying, in this matter, let the right things be done. And then even the anti-corruption agencies need to be cleansed first. A situation whereby they are also involved in the corruption that we are talking about.
Allegedly.
There is no way you can talk about witness protection.
Allegedly.
There is no way you can talk about witness protection.
Okay. When you say they are involved, I imagine that, well, you probably have instances you could cite if you wanted to, but perhaps we don't need to go into those details. The important thing is the overarching position that you have, which is that all the anti-corruption agencies just need to be functioning as written, as is actually written down, as opposed to what we have where, I mean, the fact that subject to one's not knowing exactly the details of the case, the courts will be determining that. But take what you are explaining now about the whistleblower who suddenly found himself on the other side of the issue. All of those things ought not so to be. But I suppose it's part of this whole situation we have in Nigeria where whether a thing is politically correct or not is another issue. That's yet another hurdle. Perhaps I should take this to the lawyer. This probably is another hurdle that we have to cross. It's one thing to know the law, it's another thing to be politically correct. Or is that an irrelevancy? Talking now, as I said, to Chief Obono. Yeah, please, go ahead, sir.
The laws are there. I am an expert in money laundering. I wrote my master's dissertation in the University of Liverpool on money laundering. And I was saying, in my work, I said, you know, based on research, that, look, we have some of the best anti-corruption laws, financial laws, economic laws in Nigeria. And these laws were patterned after, you know, several international conventions on terrorism, money laundering, on drug trafficking, human trafficking, that Nigeria is a signatory to. But why do we have why does it look that seemingly we don't have laws in Nigeria? I will say it's the will, the political will. The political will must come from government, the government in power. I've given you an instance when I was
Okay, we're going to wait. I can see your picture moving, but the audio just dropped. We're hoping that it's going to come back. Okay, I think you're back. Are you back?
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Yes, I'm back.
Yes.
Yes. So these are all the, you know, what is responsible for the ineffectiveness of our laws, you know, anti-corruption laws, economic laws, financial laws, and other laws in Nigeria. The will to implement this law, you know, wholeheartedly, not selectively. You must have that will. That will must come from government. The government must support those who have been given the responsibility of fighting corruption. But when you like what somebody said, somebody was supposed to be the anchor of the anti-corruption, you know, war in Buhari's government. He said, "I am not a team player." That is one of the reasons that they decided to move against me, that I'm not a team player. How can you expect an anti-corruption fighter to be a team player? Okay, for instance, there was an issue about somebody who was in government. He had about he had offshore properties, you know, up to 200 million pounds in one offshore island in the Pacific. And I collaborated with a government agency, and we investigated, and the report was given to me. I submitted it to the people in charge, and nothing was done. And today, one of them says he's one of the leaders of the coalition. You know, one of them, he has properties over 200 million pounds outside the country, because the thing came from Panama Papers. The Panama Papers came out and mentioned some people from Nigeria, and I said, okay, let me experiment. So I took that issue. I went to this, the DG of an intelligence agency at the federal level. I said, look, I don't have the structures to investigate this matter. Can we collaborate? Can we partner? And he agreed. And they went on, did the investigation. After that, they submitted the report to me. And I was very excited. I got the report. I forwarded it to the president. I forwarded it to the attorney general. But nothing was done. That is nothing was done.
Well,
the case of having property worth 200 million pounds. Somebody who has been in public service all his life. The person, the character, has been in public service all his life. So that is the issue.
Okay.
So if we do not have the will to support, you know, courageous people who are ready to fight corruption, who are ready to be in the police force, who are ready to help the country, because if you have a good police force, this country will be a better place. Okay. If you have a good SSS, this country will be a better place. Customs, immigration, and all those agencies who are involved in corruption or to make the country conducive, you know, for foreign investors to come into the country. So
let me bring on a viewer. I beg your pardon for interrupting you. We've almost run out of time, but just at the last moment, AIG Durosimi, retired, has called in. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. An interesting topic.
Yes, sir. And
in Nigeria,
yeah,
you have to fight corruption. If you don't fight it, corruption will fight you. Remember the case of Kemi Adeosun, who was always talking about NNPC not rendering the right money to the central bank. He was blown away because those behind that make sure that they embarrass her with NYC service or no service. We need to protect those who have provided information and whistleblowing. But sometimes some of these whistleblowers make nice about themselves and refill themselves. After giving information to the police, they go about saying that, let me tell police, you go so see.
Okay.
It's not that the police is telling the world who actually gave them the information, but the informants themselves never keep them out short.
Okay, so
we need a law that will protect information givers and whistleblowers. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Mr. Durosimi.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm so happy that you called in because you're an AIG, a retired AIG, so you have knowledge of how it works, the systems. So is it probable, even though you've alluded to the matter right now, people saying that the police confidentiality is not maintained when whistleblowers come forward? You've said just now that some people go out and are boasting, for whatever stupid reason. But are you saying that the police, you can say, as somebody who knows about this matter, that the police are usually on their best behaviors?
I can agree. Yes, I will say that confidently. But some of these whistleblowers themselves at beer parlors and open places keep on telling others, look, I will soon do this, I will soon do that, I've done this, I've done that. That way, they feel themselves that they are the ones that get that valuable information.
Okay.
But you must know that when you give information or when you whistleblow, the people you whistleblow to are very powerful. And in that case, they will want to fight back. That Kemi Adeosun case is a reference point. Police is ready to protect whistleblowers, but sometimes some of them refill themselves and talk out of point.
Okay.
To refill their identity.
Okay. Well, all right then. Thank you very much, AIG Durosimi, retired. for calling in, because that was a valuable insight to hear from the other side. Well, Chief Okoye Obono Obla, I want to thank you very much. We've run out of time. I've heard everything that you said. The same thing with Mr. Chibuzo Onyedima. You know, we've also heard everything that you've said, and you have also heard what a retired police officer, senior police officer, has said about the matter. Just one very, very final question. What stage is this case at that you've been citing? Is it still before the police or before the courts to do the needful now? Briefly, please.
Yeah, as at now, the case is currently at the Federal High Court. The case is currently at the Federal High Court.
Where the whistleblower is trying to extricate himself.
Yes, he's at the Federal, he's trying to extricate himself from a case filed by EFCC at the Federal High Court.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the person that whistle was blown on is being prosecuted by the police at the FCT High Court.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Chief Okoye Obono Obla and Mr. Chibuzo Onyedima. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll take a quick break now. Don't go anywhere, please. We'll come right back and we'll look at, the APC chairmanship, contest. The battle for Ganduje's succession reportedly heating up. Let's look at that next. Stay with us, please.
Power, politics, and accountability on fireworks. No seat is too high, no question too hard. If they hold an office, they are on the hot seat. If they have power, they answer to the people and answer the hard questions.
Only strong men lead, not weak men who don't have knowledge, who don't have capacity, who don't have access.
This is not just talk. This is fireworks.
It started corruption in when you cannot send your animal to where they train police officers.
No filters, no favoritism, no fear, no holds barred, unbiased, unafraid, unfiltered.
Why should people elected into office and are being funded by the treasury of the state, and then their salary and allowances will be treated in secrecy?
Fireworks, only on TVC News.
TVC News, first with Britain.
Okay, how about they made a request, the technical people. They say your laptop, they've taken it away. I can't say anything.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello, what time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Every weekday on Business Nigeria, we uncover the secrets of the financial world.
We analyze the stock market, shares, bonds, and the thrilling world of cryptocurrency.
Facts matter. Our team dives deep to separate fact from popular opinion.
We simplify complex government policies as it impacts your everyday life, helping you navigate the ever-changing financial landscape.
Watch Business Nigeria every weekday at 2 p.m. only on TVC News. First with break.
Okay, thank you very much for staying with us. And if you've just arrived, welcome. There's still a bit of meat on the bone, as it were, because we want to move in now to, the APC chairmanship vacancy. A substantive chairman is going to have to be chosen. We have an interim chairman in place. And so this battle is reported to be heating up. Well, our guest this time is Benue APC chieftain and a political affairs analyst. Mr. Daniel Onje. Good morning, Mr. Onje.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure, our pleasure. Good morning. Well, this battle, what? First of all, when it is expected that it is at the July, the fourth week of July, when the NEC meeting is scheduled. The 24th of July.
Yes.
That's when a new chairman will actually emerge.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, please continue.
Okay. Like we all know, His Excellency Abdullahi Ganduje has been, or rather, he resigned, and then there's a vacuum. Even though an interim chairman has been appointed.
So there's no vacuum. I think APC was careful to make sure that there was no vacuum. The very, very day he resigned, I think you people actually found a replacement in an interim capacity.
Someone to oversee the affairs
That's right.
of the party, until a substantive chairman is either elected or appointed.
Okay. So who now? Who are the contenders? The way you see it, I don't know how much the extent to which you are privy to what's going on, but I imagine that a lot will want to be kept under wraps. But from the fact that you are an APC chieftain yourself, maybe talk to me a bit about who are possible candidates. It doesn't mean that they've actually intended or stated that they will be joining, they will be throwing their hat in the ring, but who are the likely, quote-unquote, culprits?
Well, I'm glad you have an in-depth knowledge of the workings of the political party, so you are careful enough with your words not to ask directly who are the contenders. Well, if we're headed for national convention, perhaps you will have seen posters and banners flooding all over the places. But now, because the National Executive Committee of the party will be meeting to appoint and ratify the new chairman of the party or substantive chairman of the party, that decision is left solely within or at the prerogative of the leadership of the party. So now I can only talk about those who indicated interest and were in the forefront contesting for the position at the last convention.
Okay, that's a good enough.
Which, of course, we know them. We had three major contenders at the time. We had Senator Adamu Abdullahi from Nasarawa State. And then we also had Senator George Akume, who is now the SGF. We had Senator Tanko Almakura, who also was in the race. And you can see of the three top contenders at the time, two have been meaningfully and effectively engaged by the political system, particularly under the APC administration. Senator George Akume has been adequately compensated with the position of the SGF and is of the ACN stock. Of course, you know that there were three major legacy parties that merged together to form the APC in 2014.
Yes.
And then also, we have Abdullah Adamu, who was appointed as a consensus candidate for the chairmanship of the All Progressives Congress. So he also had been compensated. And Abdullah Adamu, of course, is of the PDP stock. Now we have only one person left of the three top contenders, which is Tanko Almakura. So far, this is what I can tell you. And I believe in the interest of justice, equity, and political balance, someone from those who have contested before that has not been adequately compensated should be given the opportunity, because positions should be occupied by those who aspire to occupy. Because definitely if somebody aspired to occupy the position, he would have had his own dreams for the organization on how to put the organization together, primarily or fundamentally from the basics of political science. We know that political parties are formed for the sole aim of, in a harsher tone in political science, because I'm a student of political science, it is said that they are formed to capture power. But who wouldn't want to sound like dictatorial in our tone? So I will be polite enough to say to rescue power or to win elections. So that is the focus. It means those who aspire to be chairman of the party know exactly what their task is: to consolidate on the unity and cohesion of the party and project them properly to win elections. Now we have elections coming up. Aside of circle elections, we have major elections coming up in 2027. And of course, the party will need to put its act together to go into another victory in 2027. So we need somebody with the requisite capacity to lead the party into victory in 2027.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much for that answer, because the way you explained it, these three contenders, two of whom have actually been, if the compensated is the word, have been adequately compensated. But then there's Tanko Almakura, and we haven't heard from him one way or the other. So we're just mentioning his name almost in a sort of statistical manner, not unless you know better, not that he has indicated any particular interest. But again, the way these things go, the makers within APC probably already know who they are putting their money on in a figurative way. They probably know who they're going to bet on, and once that is what is coming from the leadership, I guess it is known that that is the way it's going to go. But you are not about to tell me now that you've gotten any kind of a hint or indication from the leadership of the party that, look, when the time comes, this is our candidate. That much hasn't been allowed yet. People are being tight-lipped within the party.
I am not a member of the APC NEC, and maybe someday. I'm not a member of the APC NEC, so I wouldn't know the extent of consultation that has taken place. But one thing I can tell you that you've not heard from Tanko Almakura, or he hasn't said anything. For everyone who knows him, he's such a very, very gentle and humble man. He's also a very, very loyal party man. He believes in the supremacy of the party, knowing fully well that this is not the a national convention that he will aspire. The decision will lie solely in the hands of the neck of the party. As such, the only thing he can do is probably hope that he will be considered, having indicated interest, campaigned vigorously, went traveled across the nation on consultation with stakeholders.
Yes.
For the position of the chairmanship. I think, like I mentioned earlier, it will only be in the interests of justice, fairness, and political balance to consider him the chairman of the party.
All right,
because
then.
I'm inherently an activist and I abhor anything injustice. I mean, we're aware that there are people who wanted to be or hoped to be ministers in the cabinet of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that eventually the Senate turned down and got disgruntled and left the party. And several other people in that ilk that have not even received or have been appointed, like my humble self here, as a senatorial candidate of the Benue South, I've seen where PDP stalwart who demonized the Muslim tickets are federal commissioners today.
Yeah.
They are we have more than 3 of them that have gotten federal appointments.
Okay.
But yet a senatorial candidate who bought form for that exorbitant price of 20 million, campaign for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
And they haven't been settled yet.
But I'm still with the party. In the same way, Tanko Al-Makura has kept faith with the party. At some point, he was the only governor-elect of the Congress for Progressive Change, the CPC. And he remained with the party, inspired entreaties and other offers.
I hear what you're saying.
When PDP held sway in this country.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're fast running out of time. And Mazi Okorafor is on the line. He wants to join the program. Good morning to you, Mazi. Sorry for
morning,
keeping you waiting.
Good morning, Sir Yori. No problem, Sir Yori. What we, as the chairmanship, we should, the party needs somebody who is generally acceptable by the 36 states, needs the whole world. A technocrat, and somebody that is who can absorb both the shock absorber, positive and negatively. And we should do the needful. Not central state, it is their turn. The chairmanship belongs to them. They still their turn. But the party should stick to their. We have seen what is happening in other parties. The earlier the APC sit down and look for the strong person that is when he talks, he starts by the sweat and they follow. Not a question of God when he starts just second. And we pray that the new coming chairman will be very acceptable and do the needful.
All right, then.
To the zone where the party belongs, where the chairman is supposed to put, not central. Good morning, Master Krabber from our. Have a blessed, fruitful day in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafor. Well, you see, we're going to have to leave it here. And you've been quite helpful, quite frankly, if I were to look at it, you've been quite helpful, answering the questions to just give us some better kind of an idea without giving away too much, because as you said, as of today, you're not a member of the neck of the party, but you really have tried to help us understand what might be logic from the outside. Only God knows what the elders and the formers of the party consider logic. But I want to thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate your coming on the program, Mr. Daniel Onje, upon the occasion of, it's just hotting up. But at least we now know names to look out for and see if our predictions were right at the time or not. Thank you very much for coming on the program. So we're going to have to leave it there. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Bye-bye for now.